In the spirit of respect, authenticity, and reconciliation, the town of Slave Lake honors and acknowledges that we are situated on the traditional lands of Sawridge First Nation within Treaty 8 territory, home to Indigenous, Métis, and Inuit peoples who have occupied these lands since time immemorial. Councilor Graham.
Motion to accept the agenda as presented.
Motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Call to question those in favor. And that is carried. Councilor Choba.
Motion to adopt the minutes from regular meeting of council November 5th as presented.
Motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Call to question those in favor. And that is carried. Councilor Hughes.
I move to accept the minutes from the Committee of the Whole meeting, November 12th, 2024, as presented.
Motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Call to question those in favor. And that is carried. Okay, we can move forward into new business. Application to dispose of municipal reserve lands. Joanna, you are up first.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The purpose of this report is for Council to give consideration to disposing of municipal reserve lot R1, Plan 7520877. So the town of Slave Lake is the applicant and we are the owner of the land. The existing land use, the noted lands are currently zoned P for community lands. On title, the lands are designated as R1 reserve. This makes it unclear whether the lands are able to be treated as municipal reserve, environmental reserve, or some other type of reserve under current language of the MGA. As the MGA provides specific requirements and restrictions for each specific reserve designation, it is necessary that the steps to attempt to formally classify the parcel be taken. It has generally been held that it will be appropriate to treat generic R or reserve land as environmental reserve if the characteristics of the parcel fit within the definition of the environmental reserve under section 664 of the MGA, being 1, a swamp, gully, ravine, coulee, or natural drainage course; 2, land that is subject to flooding or is in the opinion of the subdivision authority unstable; or 3, a strip of land not less than 6 meters in width abutting the bed and shore of any body of water. The department has reviewed the lands and characteristics of the reserve parcel do not fit within the current definition of environmental reserve as outlined in the MGA, and it would be reasonable to treat the lands as municipal reserve, and therefore that the restrictions and requirements that apply to municipal reserve under the Municipal Government Act is what must be considered with respect to a potential disposal of the reserve parcel. In order to remove the reserve designation, a public hearing must be held in accordance with section 216, subsection 4 of the MGA, and advertised in accordance with section 606 of the MGA. In accordance with section 675, subsection 1 of the Municipal Government Act, the council in the case of a municipal reserve, or a council and a school authority in the case of municipal and school reserve, may, after taking into consideration the representations made at a public hearing under section 674, subsection 1, direct a designated officer to notify the register that the provisions of this division have been complied with, and request the registrar to remove the designation of municipal reserve or municipal and school reserve. So some history about these lands. In July of 2001, council considered an application to dispose of this parcel of municipal reserve. And at the time, the parcel maintained an automobile commercial designation in the MDP and a highway commercial districting in the land use bylaw. The parcel was intended to be developed as highway commercial, as these designations had been in place for some time. Council of the day decided not to dispose of the MR parcel and instead allowed for the developer applicant to construct a road across the municipal reserve, allowing access to the Super 8 hotel. At that time, council also requested the zoning on the MR lot be changed from C3 highway commercial to P community. On December 19th, 2001, bylaw 25/2001 changed the zoning as requested by council. In April 2005, council considered another application to dispose of a portion of the MR to accommodate an extension on the Super 8 motel. Council approved the partial disposal and 11,069 square feet of the MR was disposed of and later sold to the applicant. In accordance with the municipal land use plan map of the municipal development plan, this parcel is designated as natural environment and open space. The Municipal Planning Commission will review this application on December 2nd. And as such, their recommendation is forthcoming. The proposal was referred to the Director of Community Services and the Director of Operations for their comments. Joe Dixon, Director of Community Services, indicated he had no concerns with the proposal. Calvin Couturier, Director of Operations, indicated that he had no concerns with the proposal. So I'm presenting this report for council to ascertain if they wish to proceed with formal application to dispose of the municipal reserve lot R1, Plan 7520877. Planning and Development conferred with legal counsel on the process of the reserve disposal and the proper reserve designation. Marlena Paul Brownlee LLP has stated that after reviewing the title and satellite imagery of the parcel, this suggests that the characteristics likely do not fit within the definition of environmental reserve. And based on their observations, along with case law, Fried versus Medicine Hat and Wood versus Wetaskiwin Town Number 10, their opinion is that it is reasonable for the town to take the position that the reserve parcel should be treated as municipal reserve, and therefore that the restrictions and requirements that apply to municipal reserve under the MGA is what must be considered with respect to a disposal and or any future sale of the lands. If the disposal of the MR proceeds following the public hearing, the department would need to bring an application forward to rezone the lands to C3 highway commercial designation. And this would allow the town to market the lands for future commercial development. A C3 highway commercial designation aligns with the surrounding parcels of land. So you can proceed with the MR disposal process, or you guys can decide not to proceed with it. If you decide to proceed, a public hearing ad would be advertised on the town's website and social media for a period of a minimum of 2 weeks, as per section 606 of the MGA, and a public notice will also be posted on the reserved lands, giving notice of the public hearing regarding council's consideration to dispose of the reserve designation. At this time, the planning department has recommending a public hearing with respect to the proposed reserve disposal be held on December 3rd, 2024 at 6 p.m. Any questions?
Here, Councilor Adams.
The brain's turning?
Already heard.
Okay, I just want to try and understand the whole terminology and the process through this. So this isn't saying we're going to dispose of the land. This is saying we make it a possibility to dispose of the land, correct?
It's a consideration of disposing of the parcel. So this is essentially for you guys to schedule the public hearing in order to get the public's input on the process. And if you decide to proceed, it would be after the public hearing.
But proceed to do what?
To dispose of the designation of reserve on title, which would
Okay.
then bring the lands to be able to be sold or leased or,
So that would
So
just basically move it to the new zoning. And then from there, we look at disposing of the land.
yes,
So this is just to dispose of the,
of the
municipal
reserve
reserve.
designation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not of the
Just
actual
clarifying.
lands, just of
Yeah.
the designation of reserve lands.
Yeah, when it says disposal, I was also.
I know that's where,
like,
I know it can get
What
confusing.
are we disposing of? Okay, and then, yeah, from my understanding, which is, I probably won't use the right terms, but environmental reserve would be something that would be like, for instance, like along Sarwood Creek and like there's an environmental reserve that comes back from the bank. Is that,
Correct.
so that would be what it would be more used by?
Yeah,
Okay,
or any lands that might be within the floodplain or anything like that. So
okay, and so this is just dispose of that part that says reserve and essentially it's kind of like rezoning, but just taking. This one's different because it has to take it off that.
essentially, because on title, when reserve lands are registered with the Register of Alberta Land Titles as reserve lands, meaning that they have a specific use they can be used for, and that's it, nothing else. So this gets rid of that designation on title
Okay.
and allows us to rezone the lands to a commercial use.
That makes more sense. Councilor Adams.
I think it's worth having a conversation with the public on this to see where it's going to go. One, to see if there's anybody out there who wants to continue to keep this as a municipal reserve and what it was in, I don't know why we would, but nonetheless, at least it opens up that conversation. I think this would be a good piece of land that should be suited more to the C3 designation, just like everything else around it. Unless we had a specific use for it to be a park. If I remember correctly, wasn't that where we had the visitor information center forever?
That is before
Back in
my
the day.
time.
Yeah.
So,
Anyways, I'm in favor of this moving forward, at least to have the public hearing.
I am as well. I think it makes sense. The gap there between the two locations that are there currently has, I never actually understood what that was. I knew that there was town lands, but I didn't know why there was this large space there. So might as well open up the conversation to everybody and see where we go from there. Councilor Hughes?
Oh, never mind. I just lost my thing.
Councilor
Go
Conlon?
ahead. Someone else. Thanks.
I'll move that council proceeds with the proposed municipal reserve disposal of lot R1, plan 7520877, and the required public hearing is scheduled for December 3rd, 2024.
Motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Call to vote. Councilor Adams. Yes.
This is more of a side remark there. Are we going to have something in place that we reevaluate the other Ps that we have within the community and actually tell them if they're environmental municipal reserves or not?
Usually they're actually designated on title if they are ERs, environmental reserves. This is because it was done so long ago on title is why this R1 designation is on there.
But what I'm saying is
You
on
want to
other
go
pieces of
through?
land we have throughout the town, they're listed as P. But they should be, like, they run along the bank, they're in that flood zone.
In
things like
zoning,
that.
they are, but on title, they're listed as ER.
So that'd be the difference between this and this.
Yeah.
This is the only one we have like this?
I think, so zoning is different than
Yeah.
designation on title, so they're listed as P community because environmental reserves can still be used as parks within the community. It's just you can't do any development on them. So the designation is more on a land title than on our zoning bylaw.
The only one is the R1 on the land titles. This is what we're asking. Or there are other ones.
Will be designated as environmental reserve or municipal reserve, depending on what their use is. So if it's environmental reserve, like along the creek and the trails, will be designated on title as environmental reserve, but P on our zoning bylaw. Does that make sense?
So then on the title, what was on this one then?
This one was R1
Right.
reserve, so there was no designation.
Right.
So going through all
So
the
what I'm getting
titles
at
to
is
look
we
at,
have
to
no
make
others.
sure that they all have the correct designation.
So this is the
Yeah,
one.
we can,
Okay.
yeah.
No, that's okay. Any further discussion? Okay, call to question those in favor. And that is carried. Thank you. Learned something new tonight. That's the first one I've seen with that. Okay,
Thank
thank you.
Teacher honor.
Intermunicipal Subdivision Development Appeal Board.
Good evening, your worship and council. The purpose of tonight's report is administration is requesting council to adopt a new bylaw authorizing the CAO to enter into an agreement between Big Lakes County, Town of High Prairie, Town of Slave Lake, the Town of Swan Hills, and the Municipal District of Lesser Slave River, the participating municipalities to establish an intermunicipal subdivisional development appeal board, ISDAB. Section 627 of the Municipal Government Act requires every municipality in Alberta to either establish a subdivision development appeal board or enter an agreement with one or more municipalities to establish an intermunicipal SDAB. These boards are responsible for hearing appeals of subdivision and development decisions. In accordance with the Municipal Government Act, the participating municipalities formed a ISDAB in 2019 and 2020. However, the administration seeks to update ISDAB bylaw in agreement between the participating municipalities. So for tonight's discussion, the ISDAB bylaw authorizes the CAO of the town to enter into agreement that will establish the Slave Lake Regional Intermunicipal Subdivision Development Appeal Board, the Slave Lake Regional SDAB. The ISDAB bylaw also establishes the position of a clerk as is required by section 627.1 of the Municipal Government Act. The agreement would provide for the following: the hearing of a subdivision appeals and development appeals arising within the boundaries of the participating municipalities, the procedure and conduct of the Slave Lake Regional SDAB and its members, and the functions and duties of the Slave Lake Regional SDAB. The agreement will also address, among other things, the following. It will allow for residents from any of the participating municipalities to file appeals with the clerks from the town within the Town of Slave Lake or Big Lakes County. It will also allow for appeals to be heard in the municipality from where the appeal originates. It will allow each of the participating municipalities to appoint board members, and it will provide that training costs are shared, but appeal costs are borne from the municipality from the appeal originates. Each of the participating municipalities must concurrently pass the ISDAB bylaw, which will repeal any previous ISDAB bylaws. The passage of the ISDAB bylaw will authorize the respective CAOs to enter into an agreement. With respect to the current ISDAB members, administration recommends the following. The current members continue to serve their term until December 31st, 2024, and between now and December 31st of 2024, each participating municipality appoint or reappoint members to the ISDAB for 3-year terms starting January 1st, 2025. Advantages of a ISDAB: cost efficiency. One of the main advantages of forming an ISDAB is that it provides cost savings. The matters related to subdivision and development regulation under the Municipal Government Act requires that each clerk and board member successfully complete training program every 3 years in order to participate in hearings. By forming the Slave Lake Regional SDAB and sharing clerks and board members, the participating municipalities will decrease the overall number of clerks, board members, and share the lower cost of training fewer people. Increased experience and better decision-making. The Slave Lake Regional SDAB board members and clerks will collectively have more opportunities to participate in hearings and gain valuable experience. This will facilitate better decisions-making and reducing the likelihood of successful appeals, adding additional cost saving. Furthermore, having access to a greater pool of potential board members from participating municipalities means council can appoint individuals with more experience or expertise to hear subdivision and development appeals. Intermunicipal collaboration. Section 3 of the Municipal Government Act provides that municipalities work collectively with neighboring municipalities to plan, deliver, and fund intermunicipal services. The proposed Slave Lake Regional SDAB fulfills this mandate and provides an opportunity to strengthen regional relationships. An ISDAB is a collective partnership. As such, to be successful, the Slave Lake Regional SDAB will require ongoing cooperation and clear communication between the participating municipalities. However, the agreement will set out clear roles and responsibilities for the Slave Lake Regional SDAB and for the participating municipalities. Additionally, it will allow participating municipalities to renegotiate terms as needed or exit the relationship. Options before you that administration is recommending to give all 3 readings to bylaw 20-2024, or council can give the first reading and schedule the following readings to a later date. So our recommendation tonight is that council adopt the bylaw 20-2024 Slave Lake Regional Subdivision and Development Appeal Board and give all 3 readings. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Okay, Counselor Adams.
Why the change, or why the need for a new agreement?
I was tasked with the item of reviewing our agreements and for example, my training is coming up and is to streamline our processes and do best practices is why we looked into it. Because when we were talking with Brownlee, I spoke with Alifia and she actually does the courses and we weren't doing best practice. We weren't necessarily doing anything wrong, but this creates a more cohesive board rather than us having our own board here and then pulling members. So we wanted to streamline this practice and have better experiences as well, like clerk wise, member wise. And we're also always pulling members, usually from our participating municipalities, just due to interest in small communities.
Okay, I'm not understanding the
Okay.
answer. Why did we, you're saying we weren't following best practices, but what's the biggest difference then between the current agreement and
We
this new
will have
agreement?
2 regional clerks is one of the biggest differences, and we will have a specific board members. So I would have to confirm with our CAO on why. I was just tasked with looking into this. I don't know exactly the event that sparked to investigate this. It's so that we have 9 board members and we don't have, we have consistent board members as well. We weren't having consistent board members coming to the meetings. So for example, even passing minutes, if say, for example, you sat on the board of the last hearing, but you deemed that hey, I can't come to this one. And then no one else, we're working with maybe our minimal 3 members, no one can pass those meeting minutes.
So how does this change it? Like what's,
This bylaw is allowing us to enter into an updated agreement that we can have a regional clerk and have an alternate clerk. We don't have that at the
so you're
moment.
saying the issue was the clerk, not the members of the
It was both.
ISTB?
It was both. We had a review with Brownlee of our bylaw and they made suggested changes around them by our CAO. The participating municipalities are in agreement. And that just like that's the history I can provide of why we're suggesting these changes.
Counselor Hughes, raise your hand up, yes?
Yeah, if you want to.
No, she answered what I was asked.
Okay. My question was just more around, I guess, the appointment of members.
Yeah.
Spread out throughout the municipalities, and then you also said in here, we would either have to reappoint.
So.
Can you just speak to that a little more?
Yeah, so each municipality will be providing 2 board members. And right now, we do have a board member whose term is not expiring. So if we pass this bylaw, our member appointment expires in the new year. But to be safe with the new agreement, we would just reappoint for another term. So that when we enter into a new agreement, it's not like we have no board members. So all the participating municipalities will be supplying their board members and making sure they're current for the next term.
And is there one council representative as well, and then a public member?
No, for the organizational meeting of council.
Yeah.
We were proceeding with that. We didn't appoint a member on the board, but we do have a public member. We
Okay.
do have public.
We had
members.
changed that at the organizational, I'll hop in, we had changed that at the organizational meeting because
Right.
generally we have 3 counselors that sit on MPC and a lot of these
Yes.
BSBB decisions are appeals to that.
Yeah.
So, and then council also, so council oftentimes is involved in a decision, MPC is also involved in a decision, and then to have a counselor then sit on SDAB. The perception we had
Figured
decided
we'll
as
take it off.
council,
Yeah,
it looked like.
But are the other municipalities also taking that approach?
Yes, we are
Okay, that's
all
what
on
I'm
the same
saying. I
page.
just want to know if
Yes.
it's the same across the
No,
board.
yeah,
is
so
where I'm
we're
getting with
actually up
this.
first, all next week, they're bringing it to their councils. We've talked to all the participating municipalities. They agree with this process. They think it will be, agree with the streamlining it of having the 2 clerks.
Okay.
Also to, like looking at it from a big perspective, like we maybe have 2 appeals a year and the other municipalities have 1. So you're trying to keep up your skills of, conducting a hearing too as a clerk, even as a member.
Right.
So it'll help us be better seasoned. And not just 1 a year, we're scrambling for members. It will be more stable.
Yeah, well, and this is something that you do want to have training for and know what you're doing. You don't want to just throw in somebody who has no background on this type of committee. So I can appreciate that and where you're going with the training aspect of it.
I'm still lost on this because
Which part?
it's the same.
Like-
Other than the fact we're removing,
And we're adding in the municipal district of Lesser Slave River. That's
Fair
another
enough.
component as well.
but we will still be having, this doesn't address the challenges of having everyone there all the time, just because, we had the same people all the time. The issue was either conflicts, because the conflict of interest on our ISDAB is totally different than the conflict at this table. The perceived bias is in that place, which makes it very difficult. And that's why we often get people that come in and out of it. So how does this agreement address
The me-
those challenges?
The members, because we were acting in our own silos. So it was more like
But we
Who-
weren't.
for example, with grabbing members. So I'm trying to explain this. It's more that we need to have specific number of members allocated. It's tightening up that as well. So, and for example, like we need to make sure municipality A, B, and C has 2 members and that we're not just rolling with 1. So it's holding them to that as well, because in reality, it's like, we just need to make quorum. I'm pulling for members. Who do you have on your public list? Where it's like, this is more constant communication. This is more making sure people are with training. So it's more
But you
overall.
have to have training to be on the ISDAB board.
Yes, but when you're calling for a member, say from another municipality, I have to confirm they have their certificates, whereas now it's all gonna be one silo. Like we're just a little bit pulled apart.
Okay, thank you.
Counselor Graham.
Counselor Adams, is that a little more clear? Or do you have more questions later?
And two, I can get Jeff to
I
speak.
was just gonna suggest, like, they all meet next week to do this. Maybe they don't pass it, or maybe something happens and Jeff will be back next week. So why don't we just give it first reading? We could get a little more info, and if there is some stuff you discover or we have questions for Jeff, it might be more clear. Would that be comfortable for everybody?
Counselor Adams.
Well, I mean, I guess we gotta have unanimous decision to go to third reading
Mhm.
anyway, so.
Oh,
But as far as we're going ahead here, I mean, I understand the reasoning. You're saying we want a defined list from the other municipalities, whereas before we relied on them to just have a list. Now we're saying we want the list.
And you're also adding in more members because you are adding in the Slave River. So that does add 2 people. That doesn't sound like a lot, but
Maybe.
will they?
It's the same challenge we have here, right?
Sure.
Filling the ISDAB board is very challenging to do.
Agreed.
I think the only reason we managed to reach it some of the times was simply because we had counselors from other municipalities and counselors here that could make up the board.
And two, we mostly pulled, I think there was one counselor, but we mostly pulled from their public members. So the other municipalities will be suggesting to just public members, just because of the perceived bias.
I do like that suggestion of public members, if they're going to be getting the training, as long as that, I know we're going to do it, but that bias piece is explained very well, because it's totally different than this bias, which might help with not having counselors on there, actually, for that matter.
And so if I'm clear in summarizing, because I don't actually know that, in my opinion, that it needs to be tabled, is that it's more about accountability, I would say, across all these, municipalities.
Yes.
Because if we form this, it sounds like all the CAOs are on board and presenting it to their councils. This is the go ahead for that. If all the councils approve it, then if we're having trouble meeting quorum, then we're one organized.
We're more
Sure.
held accountable, and all this bylaw is really doing is allowing us to enter into a new and
Agreed.
renewed agreement that tightens up the process. I just highlighted a few, but that's really what this bylaw is doing. It's just, we want to have the authorization to have a better ISDAB, and that's basically what we're asking. But if you like to table, we can. We just want to pass this concurrently because they're meeting next week. So we just don't want too much of a wait.
Understood. Counselor Adams.
I move to give bylaw 20-2024 first reading.
There's a motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Call to question those in favor. And that is carried. Counselor Gramlich.
Move to give bylaw number 20-2024 second reading.
Motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Call to question those in favor. And that is carried. Counselor Hughes.
Whoever. I move to give bylaw number 20-2024 unanimous consent for third reading.
Further discussion? Call to question those in favor. That is carried. Counselor Chova.
Move to give bylaw number 20-2024 third reading.
Further discussion? Call to question those in favor. And that is carried. Okay, anything for question period?
Save it for another.
I see nothing. I hear snow is coming, Cal. Good luck. Yeah. I just said, I don't think I have anything for question period. I said, I see snow is coming, so good luck. I said, I see snow is coming. Good luck. I don't have anything for question period for you. Just that I said, I see snow is coming and good luck to the team. There's still a couple of things, yeah, there's still a couple more things in the meeting. Nope, just saying in question period, good luck to the team. Everyone be kind on the first day of snowfall. Yep, I got the email that you guys were ready to roll. Team will be prepared and we'll go from there. Well, then if there's nothing else for question period, we'll move into correspondence. So we have a renewal letter from the Community Rail Advocacy Alliance in the package. Counselor Adams.
So my question on this is more along the lines, have we seen an actual benefit from being part of this alliance? Do we see this moving forward beyond what normal discussions are with CN, with the rail, the whole, all of it? Like,
Yeah.
just wonder what's the impact here?
Same question that I had.
I only have from my perspective what it's been, and I know that CN has their own community liaisons that we met with at FCM and Alberta municipalities. They were there. I honestly don't know a ton about what our benefit has been in recent years. I do get a lot of emails about it on conversations with regards to Rail Advocacy and Alliance. They're asking for $2,000 to continue for 2025. What I would suggest at this time is that since we are in budget discussions, we can bring that to the budget table and perhaps get some more information when Jeff returns about the perceived value of that. I would like us to reach out to the Alberta Forest Products president is on this email as well. So I think it would be interesting to reach out to some of the mills and some of the larger industries to see if there's
I was
support there
trying to
as
go
well.
back 2 or 3 years, and I do believe that's kind of where this initially came from, right? Was some of our forestry industry and some of those issues here. I don't remember it being this high of a cost as well. Has it always been this high of a cost?
It's been 2,000 every year. And I would just be interested to see what our MD 124 colleagues are thinking about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And maybe what some of the industry, which is obviously located in their MD, but.
I like the idea of getting a little more information first and maybe tabling this for budget discussions personally.
Sure. It's just in there for correspondence, so. Counselor Adams,
Motion to accept as information.
motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Call the question, those in favor. And that is carried. Next up, State of the Lake. Counselor Hughes has a list.
Yeah, I just wanted to remind everyone that this coming Friday is our annual Moonlight Madness festivities here in Slave Lake. So there'll be a Santa Claus parade. The parade begins at 6 p.m., leaving from the Northern Star Hotel and ending at CJ Schurter. There's the lighting of the tree in Citizens Park. There will be fire pits, s'mores, a hot chocolate barn all around the Renee Hall Plaza area. There will be a hot dog roast as well in Citizens Park, some carolers, and of course, lots of local businesses as well, featuring specials and open late and all those things. And I think there is the craft fair as well at the MRC. So a really great holiday weekend for residents to attend.
Counselor Choba.
So today's International Men's Day. I just have a short message for the men. Today, on International Men's Day, we stand together to honor and celebrate the men in our communities and around the world. This day reminds us of the vital contributions men make as fathers, brothers, sons, mentors, and leaders. It is a moment to recognize the courage it takes to face the challenges of modern life, to build and to support families, and to shape our communities with strength, love, and kindness. It's also a day to reflect on the silent battles many men fight, struggles with mental health, societal expectations, and the pressure to always appear strong. Let us break the barriers of silence and create a culture where vulnerability is met with support, not judgment. To every man in Slave Lake, your efforts matter, your presence is valued, and your well-being is essential. Together, let us champion equality, empathy, and the belief that caring for one another makes us all stronger. On this International Men's Day, let us commit to being allies, lifting each other up, and building a community where everyone can thrive. Happy International Men's Day. Thank you.
Couldn't have said that better myself. Thank you. Or wordsmith, Counselor Choba. Well done. I would entertain a motion to go in camera. Counselor Adams.
Motion to go in camera?
Motion on the floor. Any further discussion? All the questions in favor. And that is carried.